Ah, look, a mortal. I see you have discovered my lair. Very well done for a creature of such low wit. Well said. The dead may mock the living, but in the end, all we really feel is envy. Aren't you the bright one? You figured out I wasn't an ordinary wispmother, and you did so without the aid of pictures. Good for you! I cannot say for certain why I am still lucid, whereas others are not. Only that I believe it has something to do with this location. For all my life I wanted vengeance against those that wronged me, and it is that singular focus that brings thought to this one's partial existence. Who is to say what would happen if the object of that enmity, the very descendants of the one I despise, were to leave Whiterun for another hold? Your lust for blood is amusing, mortal. I would very much like to help in nurturing such a very desirable compulsion. Unfortunately, I have not waited countless millennia to have my vengeance handed to me on a dish not yet cold. I have no answer, only a theory. It was near the end of my life. I was starving, filthy, my lips about to drink from the burbling rivers of madness. I was cold, so cold. My clothes were wet, and the frost was flooding in through the pockets of loose stone. It was then that I saw a boy. I cannot be certain if he was even real. He was skipping rocks against the wall, mumbling in a language that was not the common tongue. Somehow I understood. He asked me if I was his mother. When I told him no, he asked me if I wanted to be. And when I woke up the next morning, I was not cold anymore. Possibly. There are many wisps and wispmothers who float about Skyrim, with only the shades to call children. Is the wisp's chime the sound of weeping for the lost? Or a melodic tune meant to attract a new child that she can steal away? I, however, have no desire to raise a litter of brats, and my song is meant only to frighten. I was once the daughter of Hjor, one of the early patrons of the great clan Battleborn. It was the time of Nordic kings, long before Tyr the Septim made this land the vanguard of his empire. Yet my father was only a father by blood, and not by name. For my mother was one of the last of the snow elves, and their union was said to be a betrayal of both their people. If my father was to lead the clan to prosperity, my existence could not be known. So I was thrown into this dungeon, left here to rot through countless winters, through wars and famine. I was here as castles crumbled and were built anew, haunting these damp, fetid tunnels, as Olaf built Dragon's Reach and a new dungeon above it. When indeed, mortal, for even now I hardly consider myself dead. In fact, I believe it is that very refusal to die that allowed me to continue wandering this plain. Living in this squalid pit with only the rats to serve as meals, the only motivation I had was to outlive my father. I lived for the day when he lay on his deathbed, summoning me to his chamber in hopes that I would absolve him of his betrayal. The dying always believe they can use their own deaths as a shortcut, a way to receive forgiveness from those they wronged in life. I vowed not to pity him when that moment came. I would spit in his face and let him greet the sun with a glob of milky white hanging from his beard. Only he never gave me the satisfaction. They never brought me to see him. It would not have mattered. I could hear the whispers through the grate. My father had forgotten, and I was already dead. What became of her I learned from the guards, who whispered stories from above. She fought for the Nords, they say, against her own kind. She killed hundreds of her own people, watched the genocide of an entire race, all for the love of a man who would never make her his wife.
To put it simply, my mother had lost her mind.
They say in the end she was killed by the beasts of the wild, having ventured too far from camp.
She was killed by beasts, all right,
but those that walk on two legs and smell of bad mead.
Finally,
I am a wisp. Does that... Essentially, at the core of my being, I am a ghost. Or rather, the imprint of a living soul. I possess the personality and knowledge of the one I represent, but nothing more. Yet, unlike a ghost, I am corporeal. I can touch the world around me just as it can touch me.
as for how I came to be, that is its own tale. One of regret, betrayal, but most of all stupidity.
Farewell now.